Okay, so everybody seems to be making sourdough bread in lockdown, and I guess this is what the whites do when you lock them down. They make sourdough bread. But on a serious note, I really have wanted to make sourdough for a long while, and I was actually going to buy yeast from the shop and just make a normal sourdough bread that way, but then I forgot to buy it. I thought it'd be pretty cool to do the wild yeast route. So what that entails is you put the flour and water. It's literally just flour and water, the whole starter. Flour and water, you put it in there and you let it ferment over about 5 to 7 days, and then it's going to be ready to use to make bread. So you basically feed it a little bit every day, and after about 4 days you need to start discarding half of it because it's going to bubble up with all of that wild yeast. So we're going to get started. This first little clip is just going to be setting up the starter. So this is going to be the first thing. We'll mix those half cup of flour, half a cup of water together. We'll leave it for about 12 hours, and then it should start to come alive. So yeah, let's do that. Gambit, boy, you can't be up here. So just a quick one. I want to just pour a bit of hot water into this bowl and just kill anything off. Big trick of this is obviously like some funky things can come into the mixture, and then it's gonna be no good. So cats can't be part of this equation, guys. But yeah, so basically they say that if your sourdough starts to get some weird funky colors, orange, green, blue, purple, any kind of weird colors like that, then you have to dump it all out, you have to start again. So if that happens, then something's infected the mix, and yeah. So I'm just going to be using normal cake flour, plain as anything, and they say that we want half a cup of this. Now, obviously I'm making for just one person, so I'm gonna just not be going too generous on any of this stuff. I don't know if that makes a difference, but may as well, right? Okay, and then for the water, I'm using water out of my water filter here, and I'm kind of hoping that that's a good idea. They say that if the water's chlorinated, that obviously will hamper the development of the yeast. So you don't want chlorinated water. So this is from the tap, but then it's passed through the Brita filter and it's been in there for over a day. So I'm hoping that that's enough to have let the chlorine dissipate, and maybe the filter gets rid of it too, I don't know. But yeah, we'll soon see. So we're gonna mix this in. Keep this cat away. Oh boy. Just chill up there. Just chill up there. Just chill there. I'm just gonna pour hot water on the fork that I'm using to mix as well. I really don't want this thing infected. So something pretty interesting I found out about the other day is that when science was in its early stages, they weren't quite sure how things like this kind of just appeared out of nowhere, because they didn't have germ theory at the time, so they didn't understand that there was this whole microscopic world around us and all these living organisms that are too small for you to be able to see. So they had the theory of a spontaneous generation, and so they felt that like things just appeared out of nowhere. Wow, you're not getting it, boy. I don't know what you're doing up there, but you're going crazy. What are you doing? Oh, jump down, what's wrong with you? You step on water here or something? Yeah, so they believe in spontaneous generation, so they believe that like things like yeast just appeared out of nowhere, just like it was spontaneously created out of thin air. And they kind of like scaled this theory up until they kind of believed that mice came from grain. So if you just put a whole lot of grain together and you just left it for long enough, it would actually germinate a mouse. So it would just pop out of nowhere. That was the belief back then. No, we're not letting you do that. No access. You're on lockdown from this counter. So they say that you've got to stir this quite vigorously because you want to get some air bubbles into this guy. So there we go. Let's see. Are you able to see this? Yeah. Look at that. So that's nice and bubbly, but that's obviously not actual growth yet. That's just air from being vigorous. But that's what they want you to do. So you want to be quite like vigorous and aggressive like that. You want to be like nice and vigorous like that, get some air bubbles going, because you need to aerate it because you want to get this thing going. So what I've got here is I've got this jar, which is actually my drinking glasses. But this one I sterilized earlier also just with really hot water, just let it be cleaned. And I've got a lid for it. I don't think we want to put on a lid necessarily because it expands. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to pour this in here. And let's see how full it is. Oh, that's great. This is really what I was hoping. Because it's kind of going to double in volume. It's going to double in volume, and then after day 4, we start chucking out half of it. So you take out half of this and you throw it away, or use it for other recipes. So there are things that you can do, but every day, after 4 days, you start taking out half and removing it, and then you add food. So every day you add more food to this. So you're going to add extra flour and water. So you're feeding this colony, and it kind of looks like that. You can see it just looks like pancake batter, really. Doesn't look like anything exciting yet. So let's have a look and see what it looks like in the morning. Day 2. Let's have a look how this guy fared overnight. Let's get in close there. Get that weird liquid on top there. Okay, so now we add another half a cup of water, half a cup of flour to this guy. Doesn't smell of anything. Come away from that. Wow, look at that. Look at how that's sticking to that. It's kind of like created a film on this stirrer. Interesting. Something's happening. Day 2. Day 3. So I had a look at it this morning when I woke up, and there was like a big head of foam, almost like a beer, you know, sitting on top of there. So I mixed it in a bit, but yeah, it's definitely starting to come to life. Took this photo this weekend. This was on day 2. Looked like this when I opened the lid. So yeah, definitely getting there. Today I want to put a bit more of a feed in there that's not as watery. So I'm going to put much less water and kind of start getting it to get a bit thicker because it's still very liquidy. So I'm going to put it into this bowl. So let's see how we go. I'm going to leave it for today inside the bowl. And I'm going to clean out this glass jar that it's going to live in, and I'm just going to sterilize it a bit again, and yeah, just let it to kind of rest for today inside this bowl. Quite a strong smell, sour smell today. Wow, check it, it's like bubbling on its own. Check it there. It's alive. Okay, so this is day 7. The last couple of days, it's actually been a little bit cold, rainy, kind of like 14 degrees C. So it hasn't been great for this guy because he wants it to be warmer than that. So the development hasn't been that good, but I'm just gonna stick to it, feed him, and we'll have a look again tomorrow. I was hoping to bake today for the first time, but it's not ready yet. So we're just gonna push on and we'll see how we go. So again, we're gonna discard about half and then we're gonna top it up with another feeding. Let's go. Okay, so pouring out there. Yeah, I think what's happened here is that I lost some of the culture. I lost some of that early culture, so I think I'm kind of back where I started, unfortunately. Okay, so I just made my first sourdough. I didn't film it because honestly I thought it was just going to be a flop that I just do to get out the way. So I didn't film it at all.
Foreshadowing.
But it actually came out, it's looking pretty good. So, it's probably not the best sourdough. It's probably hasn't risen. I don't think it's risen much at all. But you know what? It's first time, pretty good. So I'm gonna cut it open and let's have a look what it looks like inside. Ooh, listen to that. It's very solid, very solid. This thing's like a rock. Nowhere near cooked. It's just raw inside. Just raw. Okay. Okay, well, completely raw. I guess it has to cook for longer. I'm gonna wrap it in foil and see if that works. Baby. Loaf number 2. I think this one is right. Look at that. Baby. Check on the sourdough today. It's looking a little bit better all the time, a lot more bubbly. I can actually see bubbles in the side here. Let's have a look inside. Hot, this has just come out. Okay, it's just come out the oven like 20 minutes ago. So let's have a look. Smells like a sourdough. Let's see. Oh, I hope it's cooked inside. I'm gonna be so sad if it isn't. Oh no, please no. Okay, you get to see it first. No, go away. Oh, look at that. Got some holes. It's a little dense, but look at that. It is a sourdough. Baby, baby, baby. No yeast added. This is all wild yeast. Baby, baby, baby. There's a crispy shell. It's maybe a little doughy, but I don't care, man. I'm a little bit strange in that I don't do butter. I don't really like butter. I'll have butter on baked potato. I'll put butter on baked potato. Nothing really more. I'm not a butter guy. First homemade sourdough. Taste test number 1. So it basically takes a full day to get the bread ready to bake. What you first do is, the first recipe I tried didn't really work that well, so this next recipe worked really well. What I did is I took about 400 grams of flour, of just normal white flour. So good. Cup of water, and mix that together. It was really like a sloppy mess. It was terrible. And then I put the salt in at the wrong time. I put the salt in then, but you meant to put the salt in at the end. But anyway, so you mix that all together, and that's called the autolyse. So you leave that for about half an hour or so. And the idea there is to just get the flour going, get the wheat and the gluten wet so that it's all kind of combined together. And then you take 90 grams, it's about half a cup. So you take about half a cup of your starter, your fresh starter, and the starter you want to use it about 2 hours or so after you fed it for the day. So you then pour that onto this doughy nonsense of the autolyse, and then you kind of mix it all in, and it was like really like slick and disgusting. It felt like intestines or something. It was like all slippery and a nightmare, but you like work it together, it gets super sticky, and you kind of just keep working it together. Overall, the dough never really was dry. It stayed like very wet all the way through actually. But you kind of work that together, and then you let that stand for a while closed, I think for about an hour or so, and then you start the folding process. And then what you do there is you've got your ball of dough, and you kind of pick up half of it, you pick it up like this, and you lift it way up, and then you fold it over, and then you fold it over from all 4 sides. And so you fold it from all 4 sides, and that's one fold. And then you go and cover it again, and you let it stand for half an hour at room temperature, but they say room temperature, it should be about 25 degrees. So at the moment it's pretty chilly, so I put it in the oven with the oven just on at about 25 degrees, 30 degrees, and I kept on putting it back in there just to keep it warm. So you leave it for half an hour, or you leave it for 15 minutes, you do another fold, and then you leave it for 15 minutes, you do another fold, leave it for 15 minutes, do another fold, and then you leave it for half an hour between the last 3 folds. Now half an hour, blah, 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 that's fine. Then you're done for that day. Then you leave it overnight in the fridge. So what that does is that kind of slows the whole maturing process
right down. So it slows it right down, and it lets it, it just lets it chill a bit. I don't know, it just makes it better. And then this morning, so that's day one. Day two, you take that out of the fridge, put that on the counter to get up to kind of room temperature, and then get the oven preheated up to 250 degrees, 260 even. And the container that you're going to put it into as well should also be preheated. So I don't have a Dutch oven or like a big heavy cast iron pot, nothing like that. I just did a baking pan, like a springform cake pan, and foil over the top, and I kind of try to make the foil as domed as possible. And then you put the dough, you like feed the dough carefully into this container that's now hot. You've got to preheat it, they say, for an hour. I left it for half an hour because I was like, really, you know, an hour of oven for nothing. So half an hour. Then I put the dough into the searing hot pan, put the foil over in a nice little hat, and then into the oven at that 250 for 25 minutes. Then after 25 minutes, take the foil off, take the lid off, and another 20 minutes, but you take the temperature down to 230. So all in all, it was 45 minutes of baking. Pull that bad boy out and let it cool. And they say you should let it cool for several hours before you cut it, but I couldn't wait that long. My starter, because the temperature hasn't been great, my starter took about 2 weeks to get ready. It's still not 100%, but it's getting better. At first, the first 5 days, I made a bit of a mistake. I was using bleached flour. I didn't realize I was just using standard white flour, and it was bleached flour, which apparently, I think that bleach kills the yeast a bit. So it was very insipid, and it didn't really get much life in it. And then I went and at the shop I found an unbleached stone ground little bag of flour and started using that to feed it, and then it really kicked off. So lots more bubbles, nice big bubbles every morning, feed it every day, perfect. So now what I'll do is I'm gonna put the starter in the fridge, and that lets you just not feed it for a week. So you keep it in the fridge for a week. When you're ready to bake again, you take it out the day before, give it a feeding so that it wakes up again, and then the day after, then you can start with your new loaf. So kind of my idea is to do one maybe once a week, maybe once every, just once a week make a loaf. So I'll take it out of the fridge, feed it, make a loaf, back in the fridge to keep it alive. I'm so happy with these results. Look at that. It's very dense, you can see. The next one, when it's got a bit more yeast, a bit more live yeast going, we'll get more of those nice big holes and texture. But you can see on the edges, it's definitely got more life than in the middle. The middle's still a little bit dense. I've paid for sourdough worse than this. Well, don't worry, I'm not going to become a cooking channel, but I thought you'd like to see my sourdough journey, complete absolute amateur, giving sourdough a try. Hope you liked it. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, please give it a subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Ding.